What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for the final upset alert video of the 2020 college football regular season. Well, it's actually not the regular season for some teams because they're playing in conference championship games. It's kind of a mixture of regular season games and conference championship games this weekend, but there are enough games where we can do this. And if you're new to this, what we do is we pick 8 games out of the week that we think are most likely to be upsets. And to be an upset, the spread has to be 4 points or more. In my opinion, if the spread's less than 4, it's not really an upset. So we picked the 8 games that we think are most likely to be upsets, not necessarily predicting them to be upsets. And last week I missed the big one, LSU Florida. Did not see that one coming. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. You know, there were some signs there when you look at Florida looking ahead to Alabama, an LSU team with talent, but a team that had just not been playing very well. But with no Derek Stingley, with more opt-outs, it just didn't feel like LSU was going to be able to put up much of a fight. They did. Obviously, Florida overlooked them. They were not prepared, and we saw a huge upset last week. Again, several games that I had on the upset alert video last week were canceled. Some were close. Troy, Coastal Carolina, that was one I put on there. That was almost an upset. But really, the only big upset of the week was Florida and LSU. I think we might see some upsets this week. I think we might see multiple upsets this week, including some conference championship games. Let's get right into it. My first pick of the week, it's UAB versus Marshall, the Conference USA Championship coming up Friday night on CBS Sports. Marshall's favored by 3.5 points in this game. It's a team that just lost to, I believe, Rice a couple of weeks ago. UAB's a quality team. UAB is a very solid team, capable of winning this game. And the spread's actually only 3.5 here. I think where I saw it before it was 4. So technically maybe it shouldn't even be on this video. But the lines changed. So again, when I made my list, it must have been 4. But according to this graphic, it is now dropped to 3.5. And again, it's a game that I think could go either way. Wouldn't be a huge upset, but it's definitely one worth watching. And keep in mind, I didn't have as many games to pick from this week. There just aren't as many teams playing. We got Nebraska and Rutgers coming up next at 7:30 Eastern Time on the Big Ten Network. Nebraska favored by 6. This is also a Friday night game. We were also supposed to get Indiana-Purdue Friday, but that game got canceled. Nebraska's favored by 6. Rutgers has been a big surprise this year. They've played much better than I anticipated, and Nebraska really has been a disappointment again this year. I'm surprised the spread is this big. I know Nebraska seemed to kind of play a little bit better in recent weeks, but this could absolutely be an upset. Watch for Rutgers to possibly knock off Nebraska in this one. Well, let's go to Saturday now. We start with our first Power 5 Conference Championship game. It's Oklahoma versus Iowa State. The game is on ABC, noon Eastern Time. Oklahoma favored by 5. I'll be honest here, I do like Oklahoma in this game. I think that they are playing at such a high... Now, Iowa State's playing really well right now also, but I just think Oklahoma is the better team, the more talented team, and they're both teams are playing at a really high level. I think Oklahoma gets some revenge. They get Iowa State in this game, but it's not one that I would feel confident picking because I think Iowa State could absolutely win it. So we have to put the Sooners on upset alert, and this is a big game again for potential college football playoff. A potential college football playoff spot. There's not a spot right now, but there could be one if the right things happen, and you could see one of these teams sneak into the college football playoffs. So this is a huge game, not just for the Big 12, but for that as well. For Iowa State, I think they probably already locked up a New Year's Six bowl, but Oklahoma might need to win this game. If they lose, there could be a team that passes them. So keep that in mind as well. Huge game in the Big 12 championship. We have an SEC matchup here. Texas A&M and Tennessee. A&M favored by 14. The game is on ESPN at noon Eastern Time. Not a big spread here when you can look at the records here. A&M 7-1, Tennessee 3-6. Tennessee coming off of a win. They haven't really beaten anyone good this year, and I don't know why. It has more to do with Texas A&M maybe not taking this game too seriously. Tennessee's still a pretty talented roster. I don't know if we see an upset here, but it just kind of feels like it would be a similar upset as the LSU Florida game last week. Maybe Texas A&M's worrying about their playoff spot and they forget they got to win this final game. I mean, something wacky could happen. It just, to me, just has a feeling like it could be. Now, A&M could win this game by 30, or it could be really close and potentially be an upset. I don't think it's going to be around 14. I think A&M completely dominates. or we see a close game that maybe Tennessee is able to pull off an upset. It's just one that I have a funny feeling about. We'll see what happens, but the Aggies should be able to get this win. Minnesota at Nebraska, 4 o'clock Eastern time on the Big Ten Network. Wisconsin favored by 12.5 in this one. That is a shock to me. Wisconsin has not been playing very well as of late. They lost their top 2 receivers. That's really hurt them on offense. Minnesota is a team that's playing a little bit better now. I just think this is a game that could go either way. I don't understand why Wisconsin's favored by this much. It's going to be a good game in my opinion. I think it's one, again, that could go either way. Watch for Minnesota to potentially get this win and finish with a winning record at 4-3 after their slow start. This is be a big win for Minnesota, and I think it could potentially be an upset. How about Clemson Notre Dame in the ACC Championship? Clemson now favored by 10 points. They lost to Notre Dame the first time. I understand Clemson being favored, but 10 points seems like a big number. Notre Dame is a very good football team. That was not a fluke win the first time. This will be a close game. Notre Dame might have a chance to pull off the upset, might be able to do it again. I wouldn't be shocked. And they have the defense that could. Look at what they did to North Carolina. Their defense is top notch. This is one of the top defenses in the country. North Carolina's offense is similar to Clemson's, and Notre Dame was able to shut them down, especially in that second half. So again, this is one that could possibly be an upset. Keep an eye out on this matchup. We got Boise State and San Jose State, 4:15 Eastern time on Fox. Mountain West Championship game. Boise State's favored by 6. Boise State's kind of been okay this year. I don't think they've been as good as previous years, and San Jose State's playing really well. They're undefeated. Got Nick Starkel, the transfer quarterback from Texas A&M, playing really well at that spot. It's a team with a lot of momentum. I think they could absolutely win this game, and it's funny that they're an underdog even though they're the ranked team and Boise State is not. So keep an eye out for this one. Again, a game that could possibly be an upset, and depending on how you look at it, maybe it's not even an upset since San Jose State, again, is ranked and Boise State is not. And our final game here, it's the American Championship game, Tulsa versus Cincinnati, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. Cincinnati comes in as a 14-point favorite. Watch out for Tulsa. Tulsa is a solid football team. They've got a really good defense. I think this game's a pretty low-scoring game. I definitely like Tulsa against the spread. I think it's closer than 14 points, even if they don't pull off the upset. It's a team that has made multiple second-half comebacks this year, so if they get down early, they're not going to quit. Don't worry. And I think they can make a game out of this if that does happen, and I think it's going to be a close game, one that Tulsa could potentially pull off an upset in. That would shake things up in the New Year's Six picture, because that's probably going to give Coastal Carolina or Louisiana a shot at a New Year's Six bowl. So this is a huge game. Cincinnati, they're not going to make the college football playoff. If they're disappointed from that, if they're, feeling like, well, there's nothing we can do, even if we win this game, maybe they don't have as much in this one as they would have if they were playing for a playoff spot. Just a lot of different things could potentially pop up in this game. We'll see what happens. Tulsa, again, a good team, and I think this will be a really good matchup. So those are my upset picks this week. I think a couple of them are going to happen. I don't know which two, but I think at least 2 of these are going to happen. The last few weeks, we just haven't had the upsets, or I haven't picked them. There's been some that I've completely missed, but I think this week I'm going to get a couple of those right. I would love to know who you think is going to get upset, who should be on upset alert. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.